currently the wealthiest person in the world and runs Amazon and aerospace company Blue Origin, which has the goal of sending people to the moon. Elon Musk is the dual CEO running both Tesla and SpaceX. Over the years, a hated rivalry between these two has resulted in some bitter name-calling and Twitter spats. But now Bezos is passing Musk in a major way. Or is he? Jeff Bezos recently made the announcement that he will fly to the edge of space soon on his new Shepard rocket to prove that it's completely safe for space tourists. Elon Musk, on the other hand, has no set plans to go into space as of yet, but expressed interest in joining Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa in his trip around the moon in the new Starship Super Heavy rocket that's scheduled to launch in 2023. Musk has also said he wants to move to Mars and live out his life there. But is Bezos better than Elon? And how did this rivalry between these guys start? By 2004, both Blue Origin and SpaceX were still in their early stages, and neither had completed any launches yet. However, Bezos and Musk had met each other to discuss their reusable rocket ambitions, and let's just say it didn't go well. Musk said that he tried to give Bezos some advice, but Bezos largely ignored Musk. From that time onward, Musk and Bezos kept to themselves. But the rivalry heated up again in 2013 when both companies tried to lease the same launch pad from NASA. SpaceX wanted exclusive use of the NASA launch pad, and Blue Origin filed a formal protest with the government to prevent SpaceX from using the pad. Bezos suggested that it should be converted into a commercial spaceport for all launch companies. Musk called this a phony blocking tactic and took a swipe at Blue Origin, saying the company hasn't created a reliable orbital spacecraft even though they've spent over 10 years to build one. However, Musk said that if Blue Origin somehow designed a vehicle qualified to NASA's human rating standards that can dock with the space station, SpaceX would gladly accommodate their needs. But then Musk said, "Frankly, I think we're more likely to discover unicorns dancing in the flame duct." By the way, SpaceX won the right to take over the launch pad. And that isn't all the misfortune that Blue Origin has suffered. They also recently lost a contract with NASA to SpaceX to build the lunar lander that will deliver astronauts to the surface of the moon in 2024. Bezos was not happy about the decision and filed a protest, accusing NASA of moving the goalposts for contract bidders at the last moment. This was a huge blow for Blue Origin. Of course, Musk fired back at Bezos and his 50-page protest with a tweet that said, "Can't get it up to orbit, lol." That's Elon Musk for you. But we told you in the beginning that there's another billionaire that looks like he's about to beat both Musk and Bezos at their own game. Virgin Galactic and its founder Richard Branson have also been working for the last 20 years, getting the VSS Unity rocket plane riding to the limit of the Earth's atmosphere. He says that Elon Musk is fixated on Mars and it's his life mission, while he and Bezos want to use space to better the Earth. This rocket plane is really something else to see. It's carried in the middle by a big mothership jet named Eve, and when at the correct altitude, Spaceship 2 Unity is released, and its rocket pushes the craft to 3 times the speed of sound. It then makes a sharp climb upwards until it reaches the edge of space. In the spacecraft's test flight, it performed a slow backflip by rotating its wings. VSS Unity then returns from the edge of space and lands on a runway, much like the space shuttle. But even the VSS Unity had a problem, and a previous flight attempt was called off because of an electronic interference issue where the spacecraft's rocket shut off early before it glided safely back to Earth. However, Virgin Galactic says they got the problem fixed and have unveiled the Spaceship 3, and it looks incredibly awesome. Now, there are probably a lot of Elon Musk haters out there, but it looks like SpaceX is beating everyone in the space race. Think about it. SpaceX has built and designed the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launch vehicles, but that's not all. The company also builds its own rocket engines, the Merlin 1 and Kestrel. Plus, they've been talking about building a new, much bigger, high-level engine, the Merlin 2. But it's always the goal of SpaceX to be able to reuse the first stage of a rocket, and in December 2015, SpaceX landed its Falcon 9 rocket for the first time. SpaceX also pulled off the first rocket landing at sea on a drone ship in April 2016, And in 2019, SpaceX wowed the world again with a triple booster landing and 2 of the boosters landing on the ground in perfect tandem, while the main core landed on a drone ship in the ocean. What about SpaceX getting people to the edge of space like Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic? Let's face it, the goals of SpaceX are different from the competitors, and the main focus is putting people on the surface of the Moon and Mars. And this is where the SpaceX Starship comes in. It's a fully reusable, 2-stage to-orbit, super heavy-lift launch vehicle that can take 100 people into space. The Starship has seen some real fast development since 2019, beginning with the Starhopper that was successful in launching and landing and looking real cool doing it. SpaceX then built Starship SN5. It looked like a giant grain silo, and it was surreal watching this thing take off, hover, and then land successfully. But not all SpaceX Starships have landed in one piece. Starship SN9 crashed on landing and exploded in a fireball. SN10 landed but exploded shortly after, and SN11 successfully soared to a 10-kilometer altitude but exploded shortly after. That's 3 Starship failures in a row. However, Elon Musk was quoted as saying, "We expect it to explode. It's weird if it doesn't explode, frankly." Now the US Federal Aviation Administration has stepped in, and they don't believe these failures are intended and are looking closer at SpaceX's Starship. So, what are the new plans for our billionaire spacemen? Bezos is set to go into space in his new Shepard vehicle on July 20th, 2021, with his brother Mark, and a very rich anonymous online bidder who put down $4.8 million to go for a ride. The capsule on the top can carry up to 6 people and reaches an altitude of more than 100 kilometers, called suborbital space. The flight lasts about 10 to 15 minutes, enough time for passengers to float in complete weightlessness. Let's see if it all plays out as planned, because we all know that anything can change at any moment. The question on everyone's mind is it risky to be sending these billionaires into space? The big news is that while we're making this video, Virgin Galactic got their first official OK from the Federal Aviation Administration to fly passengers to the edge of space. That's right, even you could grab a ticket on a rocket to the edge of space right now, if you have the money. And no word yet on how much the tickets will go for, but you can bet they'll be expensive. SpaceX is really busy trying to get their futuristic bullet-shaped Starship ready to take people to Mars. And the latest Starship SN15 just performed a near-perfect soft landing, and it didn't explode. When it comes to human spaceflight, SpaceX is still at the top. On April the 23rd, 2021, SpaceX's Crew 2 mission sent 4 more astronauts to the International Space Station aboard the company's Crew Dragon spacecraft, making it the 3rd successful manned launch. Before, astronauts had to hitch a ride on Russian spacecraft. And while Branson and Bezos are both on a mission to convince and assure people that a rocket ride is fun and safe by going up first themselves, let's keep in mind that even spacecraft that have undergone years of testing can end up failing or crashing. Take the failure of the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986, when it broke apart just 73 seconds into its flight, or the Shuttle Columbia when it disintegrated in Earth's atmosphere on February 1st, 2003. That said, if you want to see a video about the most devastating spacecraft failures, let us know in the comments. And speaking of NASA spacecraft, where do they sit in the space race? Because of all this competition, NASA looks like it's falling behind a little. However, they're still in the race with their huge rocket, the Space Launch System. It's the most powerful launch vehicle built since the 1960s. It stands 98 meters tall, has 4 engines that produce 8.8 million pounds of thrust. That insane amount of power can put 27 tons of cargo into space. That's 11 large sport utility vehicles. And yes, these are the same RS-25 engines that were used in the Space Shuttle program. And this is the rocket that NASA will use for their Artemis program. But is this rocket ready to do the job of sending astronauts to the moon? And is NASA falling behind in rocket technology? For now, the Space Launch System is still being assembled, and the Artemis project is still set to get us back to the moon by 2024. SpaceX is now helping out on the lunar lander, and Jeff Bezos is not happy about that. And while we're on the subject, we recently made a video about how China is trying to overtake NASA in space programs. However, it's already becoming more difficult for a state corporation to stay in this market, since they're responsible to taxpayers for their failures, unlike private companies. You can check out that here if you missed it. Private companies have endured hundreds of failures, rocket crashes, and huge financial losses. But now they've conquered space, and the future of space exploration looks bright.